Scorpio, welcome to your March 2017 Love Tarot reading. It's Rena here, and I just wanted to let you know, I was just kind of calculating this in my mind, that Venus is going to be retrograding in March through mid-April. The exact date that it retrogrades is March 4th. And it's going to be at 13 Aries, okay? So for you, and this is, we're pretending everybody's the same, this would be the 6th house of your workplace, your daily schedule, and your health. And so you may be, there may be issues. I was even thinking, because I'm, bringing this up as a love reading, that if you have somebody in the workplace that maybe you had a crush on, that could come back into, some kind of, you may be reviewing it, maybe come back into your thoughts in some way, because it's actually, as it goes backwards, it's going to be going back to a later degree. I think it's about 28 or 26 Pisces. So it's going to go back into your 5th house, okay? So it's interesting that those two houses are activated during this retrograde. And it could indicate, if there's any kind of commonality, that there's some kind of a romance in the workplace. But it could simply be those two areas too, that you're either the money situation, because Venus can deal with money matters as well as just the aesthetics of life, beautifying things. So that could be featured, and obviously money can be spent in those areas as well. And in addition to that, romance. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of give you a little flavor of a transit that, connects to that before I lay out the cards. And actually, come to think of it, as the month begins, you're going to be coming off of a solar eclipse that is taking place in Pisces. So it's a very powerful new moon, new beginning. And this is in your sector of love, of romance, that 5th house of creativity, of conceiving children, conceiving artistic projects, home businesses and things like that. So that can all be in the mix, during this time frame. Maybe some of you will be finding a love partner in late March, going, several months in advance. Or, I'm sorry, late February. It's interesting, Scorpio. One of the reasons I decided to do these love readings, today's the 3rd of February. I wasn't planning on doing them this early, but it was because the light, it suddenly has become, it was overcast for a long time, and there's nothing like natural light, so I just thought I'd take advantage of it. Okay, wow. Yeah, this is something, when I first pulled the top cards, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting the picture here. Of course, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that this is a general tarot reading. And the tarot itself is very open to interpretation, okay? I'm not going to pretend that I know every nuance, every possible interpretation of each card. I'm sure when people have been doing this for 30 years, 40 years, they just have, they've just figured out every possible thing. But it doesn't really matter, because we all put our energy into what we're doing, anybody who's reading the cards, right? So it's not just about what is the definition of the card, but what does it mean to me as I'm looking at this? And so what I see for Scorpio, sometimes I see you as the High Priestess anyway. And that's the theme of this month. And this can be taken in multiple ways, but when I see the card surrounding it on the top level, I think that one very common situation is, or possibility, is that you are involved in a relationship that you know is not serving you. You know it, but knowing doesn't stop you from doing it. You could even be having an affair. And this is one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, is that intellectual knowledge doesn't really mean anything, because people can just understand what their problems are and still feel compelled to do it. The High Priestess is someone who has that ability to tap into their higher self, and they have that at their disposal on a regular basis. Now, this is for the month of March, which is not surprisingly a time of a lot of spiritual energy, because most of it is under the sign of Pisces, which is your sister water sign. And so you mesh very well with Pisces energy, being a water sign, being intuitive. That's the basis for your way through life, is to sense things. And when Scorpio can stay above the fray and not drown by their own fire, they're cool. But when their ego gets too enmeshed in it, and this is what makes Scorpio such a complex sign, because it's not ruled by just Pluto, which is, a handful in itself. It's also ruled by Mars. And Mars is a sign that rules Aries. And there is an ego, there's a drive coming from that Martian energy that I think gets in the way sometimes, because it's wanting your own way. And for Scorpio, with the Plutonian influence, it's through power, a sense of power. For women, and most women are the ones that are going to be watching this, your sexuality can be a big one. Scorpio gets a bad rap of being, promiscuous or something along those lines. I don't believe that's true at all. I think Scorpio takes sex very seriously, and they respect it. And I believe a lot of Scorpios can be actually celibate for long periods of time if they're not, if they haven't found somebody that they wish to have that level of intimacy with. But on the other hand, if a Scorpio person, and maybe it could be, I could be either gender, I suppose, but if they don't feel powerless, they may take any tool out of the tool shed or toolbox and try to, have that control over other people. And that's where Scorpio can go off track. But the thing that I think is important is that you understand this, if this is going on for you in some level. And the reason I'm emphasizing sex is because it's one of those things that can get compulsive. And as the recent past, and that brings us to that High Priestess, we get the Devil card. The Devil card is a card of obsession. It's a card. Now, with Scorpio, the obsessiveness can be for someone that you want. Maybe somebody who's taken. Maybe you have fallen in love with somebody who's already married, and so, but you want what the other person has. It could involve an actual Capricorn individual, because this is connected to that astrological sign. But I always like to look at the compulsive component in it. And because this is a love reading, we are dealing with, specifically sexual or other types of power trips that people can get into. And sometimes it can just be, keeping somebody... Oh, you know what I was going to say? I was going to say keeping them under your thumb. But one of the things, too, that Scorpio does, and this is due to trust issues, is try to accuse other people of, cheating and stuff. And that's a way to, you may not think, oh, I'm doing this because of that. You really may feel like you're afraid that would be the worst thing that ever happened to you, that somebody would cheat on you. Now, to tell you the truth, I'm putting this all on you, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of you know that your partner is cheating. If they are cheating, I would suspect that they have a sex addiction, okay? Because what we see right here, what is happening as we speak, and this is in March, is the Seven of Swords. This is like going behind somebody's back and doing something surreptitious. But see, the thing is, it can go both ways. It could be that you cannot extricate yourself from a situation that may be just a physical relationship that just has you swallowed up in it. You know it's bad for you, but you can't stop, and you continue to do it. You won't stop doing it. And, the Devil card could be, it might not just be because you just have an attachment to the physical relationship with that person. It could be that you really are in love with that person, but that person is not good for you. Okay, so let's clarify it a little bit more. I'm not suggesting that you are, just into somebody for the sex. But whatever's happening, it seems to be being done very covertly. And that in itself is problematic. When you sneak around, that creates its own energy field. Sneaking around, because you already know something is wrong when you're not just above board. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to sneak around because you're dealing with people who are dangerous. There may be times when sneaking around is a lifesaver. So I'm not going to be black and white about it, but I'm talking about when it's coming from the position of most relationships. If you're sneaking around, for the relationship, you have to ask yourself, is this healthy? Is this a good foundation for our relationship? Is this going to bode well in the future for this relationship? Is it a sign of integrity on both of our parts? All of these questions have to be looked at. Okay, and so interesting. Now, I could also talk about astrological signs. Somebody said, don't, keep mentioning astrological signs. But, in order to, be as universal as I can, I feel like compelled to. So that could be someone, perhaps you were with a Capricorn and now you're with an air sign, or somebody who is overtly detached and cerebral. Gemini, Aquarius, Libra, okay? And so the higher perspective, which is like really tapping into that high priestess, this is what you really want, Scorpio. You really want that white picket fence. So it's very simple. What are you doing to get there? Are your actions that you're taking, will they get you where you want to go? Sometimes life is a lot less complicated than we make it out to be. I will say that this card, it could be speaking of, even if the other person is cheating on you and you know that they are, you're sitting on that information. Okay, so this end game, this goal that you want, is going to be that much farther out of reach because you're refusing to act on your knowing, your high priestess knowing, and you can't move forward in your life, and you can't have this. So that should be a motivation for some people to decide what it is they want to do. So, what crosses you is the Tower card. And so, what I think this means is that sometimes people are cheating because, or having these covert relationships because they're trying to avoid, some kind of big scenes or something like that. Maybe they are putting off, if they're married, telling their spouse, I'm just not happy, I want to get a divorce. This is saying that if you do not be above board, that this is going to happen regardless, so you will be found out. And if you're the one who is sitting on information and you're playing dumb in a way because you know that you're being cheated on, and yet you don't want to lose that person, so you don't confront them, but you can tell in your heart of hearts that they're cheating, this will happen. It may not be anything that you initiate. It could be. It could be that you hold it in, and then you explode. That's the other thing too. So you have to, and you may implode. It may not be towards that other person. A lot of times people take out, they talk about depression being suppressed anger, actually. It's very interesting when you learn about these emotions and you learn about them intellectually. I would, definitely encourage Scorpio people to kind of like study emotions from an intellectual way, because it really kind of takes the teeth out of them. And you realize that a lot of depression is actually anger that is suppressed. And a lot of anger is actually grief, okay, or sadness. So we can really demystify these feelings, and we're not afraid of them anymore. But if you do not, this could definitely happen too. If you are in a situation where you're tolerating this could turn on you. So, watch out for that, definitely. It's funny, I do go into the pathos with these readings. I just realized that. And I'm not saying anything like, sweet and fluffy. Maybe that, people are looking for a lot of that. But, for Scorpio, I think there always is that mysterious component. So I do apologize. I wish I could just say something really like, warm and fuzzy about the Devil card or, the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords, by the way, it could be that you have decided to go on your own because you're leaving that alone. Maybe you are tapping into your higher self and leaving alone a person who is no good for you because you do want, something better. You want a more, like a commitment, okay? So, yeah, maybe I was just getting off into the drama of it. What's coming in for you is the Page of Wands, and this could also be advice. I think that you're going to hear something that is music to your ears, okay? You're going to hear something. Page of Wands can also be the start of a very passionate relationship, and it could involve somebody of the fire element, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, or they have a fiery imprint in their personality, and with fire, it's going to be hard for you not to know this. Somebody who is, they could be a Cancer or a Pisces sun sign, and they could have like, a Leo moon or a Sagittarius rising, and there's just something very warm about them, and also positive, encouraging, and this is encouraging news. Pages can bring messages, so you could hear from somebody. Maybe you've been wanting to hear from somebody, and this kind of gets you going, and it's a new beginning. And also this could be, I'm thinking too that this may have something to do with the spring I was going to say the spring solstice, but I mean the vernal equinox. And I know in the southern hemisphere you're actually having winter, which is like, wow. Or no, fall. Um, but that shift, the page is, the child is connected to spring. So that kind of that youthful energy. But with messages, and there's as a minor arcana card, this is a very good omen. Let's put it that way. For good things coming to you, new things coming to Scorpio, including people. And, just new stimulation. And the end result is the Six of Swords, moving away. Okay, so that makes me think that maybe for some of you the news is about something. Maybe it's even news on the job front, and you'll decide if remember what I said. I said, the fifth and sixth house is activated during this Venus retrograde. Maybe you're having an affair on the job, and you're going to decide, I'm leaving, I'm going to go to, it might be the same company, but they have another office in a different city or a different country, and I'm going to go over there. I'm going to just extricate myself from the situation. But you're choosing peace. You could be choosing an air sign. Maybe you've been trying to get away from a Capricorn individual, and you will, or any kind of restrictive relationship, and you're going to move towards something that is much more drama-free. You are not wanting that anymore. But you're choosing this, so it's showing that self-empowerment, Scorpio. You're not in that position, even if you were sitting on information. If you were the one being cheated on, you're going to be taking those steps. And maybe for some of you, it's not going to be that you're literally, getting up and moving. Maybe you're just in your mind, you're already there. And it's just like a question of when. Maybe the timing isn't right for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a very romantic March. Bye.